Do pardon the mess here. I've been figuring out how to connect the OEM switch to the aftermarket harness, and I was successful. I do need to add a couple more parts to it. In this case, the original aftermarket switch was a simple 4-wire, and it had a bicolor LED to indicate if it was set to low or high. And that bicolor LED was green at low and then red on high, and it's basically connected in anti-parallel. And what that basically means, it's two LEDs connected together but in opposite polarities. And what I wound up finding out was that the way that this is wired, this kit, does not play well with a switch that has two LEDs. You have one for the high and one for the low. Now, what you can do is you can set it to high very easily and the light will turn on. But if you had set it to low without adding this single pole, single throw relay, what would wind up happening is, since this is a resistive load, so it's going to load in both directions in the circuit. And what would happen is that when you set it to low, both the low light and then the high LED light would come on but dim, because it's feeding from the other side of the circuit. And there was two ways that you could handle it. You can either do a single pole, single throw relay, which is recommended, or the thought of putting a blocking diode so that the current only flows one way. But since it has to go on the power wire, which is the blue wire for the high setting, it would be dissipating a lot of heat, wasting a lot of power, and force your heated pads to not get hot as quickly. And I didn't want to have to sacrifice that, so I still have a little bit of cleanup to do here, but this is definitely the proof of concept that it does work with a single pole, single throw relay. And then there's obviously another relay on the kit, so this is actually a single pole double throw, so it's there's a normally open and a normally closed side, and I actually just borrowed it from the other one just to prove it, and using it as a single pole, single throw relay. And now if I set it to low, I'm drawing about 2 amps and with no loss of power to the heating pads. Shut it off, and now set it to high, which should be about 4 to 5 amps. And that sounds about right. So 4.2, 4.25. And then it will eventually, the current will go down as the heating pads heat up. It's the same concept as the heated side mirrors. So now that I know that adding a second relay fixes the compatibility issue with the OEM, I'm going to go and put this together to make it look more presentable, and I will show you the finished product. Here is the final setup of the OEM switches from the EXL and the garnish. I've adapted to the aftermarket harness for the heated seats, and I've also added the single pole, single throw relays, something easy to pick up advanced auto parts. I'm going to add a ring terminal. This is the ground wire to run these two relays. So I'll put a ring terminal and ground that to the frame. And last but not least, we have the switch illumination, which you have your gray and your black wires. Tied them together. I'll add some extra wire to this and run it from where these switches are going to sit in the center console to I actually have underneath the dashboard, I have the blue lights that I'll just tie in with these wires, so that when those lights turn on, that the switches will get illuminated at night when I have my headlights on. Simple and straightforward. And as far as the screws that mount this to the garnish, that is your part number that you need to get. Now I looked into the EX cloth seats, and it turns out that the creases are where the foam is glued to the fabric, and unfortunately I'm not going to be wanting to do all that work to take it apart and then risk having any creases show up. So what I got was I got some off the mill seat covers from Fleabay, and it's nothing that's going to break the bank, but it looks like it's going to fit the bill just fine. It's straight black. And then I've already actually started to put the heated pads in there, and it turns out they're in a perfect fit for not only the car but also for the pad. So I didn't have to go and cut this to length. And now what I'll be able to do is to take the back pad here, and ideally what I'm going to do is going to put it right at the crease here, and then put it up here. And obviously the wires will be down in the corner. But that should allow me to snake the wires through between the two pads, and then wire underneath the seat out of the way. Doing it this way, I am kind of cheating a bit, but functionality is still going to be the same way, and I can always remove the seat covers from the car anytime I need to, whether it be I have to clean them or have to remove them for whatever reason, and it'll be very modular since the pads come with the connector piece here, which you can quickly disconnect.